we have to talk about this film. This is one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of disturbing stuff. Hello friends, today we're going to talk about everything I watched in April. So many recommendations, so many movies, and some TV shows as well. But before we get stuck into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Not only do they encrypt and protect you while you're surfing the internet, but they can also unlock geo-blocked content. So say if there is a TV show you want to watch, but it's only on a platform in a certain country, well, Surfshark can help you with that, and it's so easy. All you have to do is type in a location, click a button, and you're there within seconds. I love Surfshark because it's quick and it's easy, and you can use it on multiple devices. So unlike other services where you can only use your account in one place, once you have Surfshark, you can use it on your phone, on your laptop, on your smart TV, wherever you use the internet. And if you've ever considered using a VPN, well, today's the day because I have a special offer for you. You can go to surfshark.com/spooky or use the code spooky at checkout, but all of the links are down below. And at checkout, you will get 4 months extra of Surfshark. That's 4 months on me. Use the code SPOOKY. Also, again, the link is down below. Thank you so much to Surfshark for supporting creators like me and, of course, for allowing me to unlock so much content. Now, let's get into everything I watched this month, starting with the movies. Okay, so starting at the start of the month, I watched Fitspo. This is a short film that my friend worked on, so I wanted to check it out, and it is about Fitspiration, and it's only 20 minutes long. It's a drama, basically through the eyes of a blogger who is dealing with the internal struggles, the mental struggles that are very relatable to a lot of people. So I enjoyed watching that one. After that, I watched Opus, which I'm so sad this didn't come out in cinemas here. It had such a quiet release, I think, with everything else going on at the time with horror. But this is Ayo Edebiri. I love her so much. She leads this film about people who are fixated with a pop icon who is coming back to the center stage after releasing a new album. He invites all of these different journalists and people to come to his house for kind of like a listening party, but it's a commune, and he has become kind of a religious figure. The film has so many interesting moments that I really loved. I love the performances. It's got John Malkovich. I mean, the cast of this film alone is fantastic, but it does escalate very quickly and kind of just drop off, and I feel like there was so much more to discover, and I feel like some of the beats of it are reminiscent of a lot of other films. I don't want to spoil anything, but are reminiscent of other films that have done it better. And it's really annoying because the performances are great, and I think there's a lot of things to love, especially a pop horror movie that is kind of a musical as well, and they do let it really sink in, and they have these musical elements where he's performing, John Malkovich performing. It's so likable, and the energy is so high at the start, and the setup is so fun and alluring, them going into this situation with this guy who's famous and you haven't seen in years. I also do think it has a really good message or meaning, and it has great layers, but it does feel like it just jolts straight to the peak of the film all of a sudden, and I wanted some more kind of wow factor. I know that's really weird to say, but it kind of just jumps the gun and wants to finish up real fast when you've only just kind of synced into it. I needed some more mystery surrounding all of that, but again, loved the performances, so I very much enjoyed watching it, but I can see why people weren't talking too much about it. After that, I went and saw a clown in a cornfield, which is so crazy how early I saw it. The review will be out now. I really enjoyed this movie. I have, again, a whole review out on it if you want to go check it out, but I really enjoyed this movie for a whole different reason. It was just a fun popcorn movie that was really stripped back horror. And I'm recording this on the 5th of May, so I still have no idea what anyone else in our circle, in our community, kind of feel about it. So I'm really interested to see how everyone else feels. But again, there's a whole spoiler-free review if you want to go check that out, where I talk about it in depth, spoiler-free. After that, I rewatched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I feel like this film still didn't get as much appreciation as it was owed. It is such a fun movie with such a funny, strange ending. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it was the exact kind of comedy horror we wanted at that time. Rachel Sennett is a star, and if you haven't seen it, it's basically about a bunch of Gen Z-esque friends who get together for a weekend, and it all goes wrong when they play this kind of like murder in the dark game called Bodies, 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 and they all kind of flip on each other, and then cracks emerge in their friendship group, and they have some interesting dynamics between them, but they're all kind of bratty, and it's just so fun. It was Brat before Brat, I think, technically. After that, I watched Bob Trevino Likes It. Oh my god, I died for this film. I love Bobby Ferreira. This is a drama comedy about her trying to find her way when she is kind of neglected by her family, and she meets this man randomly online. I don't really want to say too much more. It was a journey, and I felt like they hit different beats than I was used to. And it really, really hit me hard. I bawled watching this in the cinema. Just a beautiful story about friendship and, you know, things that keep us going in 2025, and I really needed it. It was one of those films that hurt to watch, but was so beautiful at the same time. If you're looking for a really thought-provoking, touching movie that challenges you in very different ways, it's a very interesting thought experiment, or really like a prompt, which is weird to say, but a mental health prompt in a completely different way than what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to seeing things kind of delivered as disturbing, and, you know, they end that way, but this was a very different twist on that, and a very different twist on friendship and how we see friendship. So I think it's a very beautiful movie, very touching. After that, I watched Ju-on, The Grudge. I can't remember why I watched this. There was some reason. But again, you know, you need to rewatch every once in a while. This film is always so different to what I remember. I think after watching the series on Netflix, that is so dark and disturbing and takes such a twist on this. So I feel like the original, it doesn't get as dark as I remember it in terms of like the imprinting and rage within the ghost story. The inception of it is quite interesting as well. The movie is about a social worker who goes to check on a lady who is just found alone in this house. And then the film goes on to show how this house has impacted several different people and families with its haunted story. It's a very sad movie. Then I rewatched Lake Mungo. I think I did this for my movie scenes that disturbed me, because a lot of people bring up Lake Mungo a lot, and I wanted to relive it, but you have to fully watch the film to understand the disturbing aspects of it. I did an unpopular opinion video, definitely not my first and definitely not my last. I did that one really recently, and a lot of you guys said that you either love or hate Lake Mungo. I feel like there's only one way to find out, is to watch it, because a lot of people, if you haven't seen it, a lot of people will tell you it's great or it's awful. There's no one really in the middle. The film is a mockumentary Australian drama horror about a family that experiences loss, and then they believe that the person they lost is still in their house. It's definitely the exploration of grief in a different way, and I think that if it sucks you in, it will suck you dry. It really reminds me of the Paul Tremblay book, Devil's Rock. That has to be inspired by Lake Mungo. Tell me if anyone else has picked up on that. I really feel like they're the same story, kind of different sides of the coin. Okay, after that, I watched Don't Look Now. This was another film I watched because everyone kept talking about the last scene, and I had seen this film several times, but I wanted the effect of feeling the last scene and seeing if it really resonated with me as much as it resonates with a lot of you guys. And I love this movie. This movie is super spooky, and maybe I need to do my own unpopular opinions for this, but it's so spooky and strange. But that last scene in it, which everyone talks about, kind of changes how you see the film. It really changes the unnerving aspect of the movie. The movie is about a couple that experience loss, and then they travel to Venice, and they're staying there, and they seem to be haunted by their loss, and they have run-ins with some odd people who know about what's going on. And it's one of those films where you feel like something is following them and you're not quite sure what. The horror is always just out of focus, and you're trying to figure out what's happening, and it all is explained at the end in a really weird way, but it makes no sense, which makes it even more unnerving because it's just the unknown. It's a film that has a very interesting atmosphere, and I don't think there's anything quite like it. It's just unnerving and uncomfortable, but I don't really love the ending, which is probably unpopular. From there, I went and saw Drop, which of course I took you guys along. If you want to see that spoiler-free review, I would love for you guys to check that out. And then I rewatched Pontypool, which is maybe the second time I've seen that in the last year. I've seen Pontypool many years ago. One of my first reviews, don't look it up. One of my first reviews is on it. Pontypool is a very interesting Canadian film. I was talking to my friend Des, who read the book. The book is completely different from a different perspective, but it's the same situation, which I think is really interesting because they've spoken about doing a sequel on this, and I think it is very doable. It's hard to talk about because it's very important that you find out what the terror is as you're watching. It is about a disc jockey, a radio host, who all of a sudden during his show, everything kind of falls apart and he has to figure out what is going on in his town because there is a mysterious infliction that is taking off and it's narrowing in on him. It's a really interesting film that is more relevant than ever. It has really interesting ideas, but it's also set in one location, so it's one of those kind of claustrophobic films. It's more, I wouldn't say mumblecore, but it's more to do with the situation and the people having conversations about it than anything that's going on outside or any monsters and bigger pictures. It's very psychological, I guess is the best way of saying that, but definitely worth checking out. There are some aspects that I don't like in it, but there is a lot to talk about and to discover for sure. Another one that you really do need to see because it is unique. Another film that was not released in Australia, but I was very excited because I was allowed to review it, is The Ugly Stepsister. This is a Norwegian horror film that is so dark, and a lot of people are comparing it to The Substance, which I don't really see in it, just because two films are body horror and they have women in them. Welcome to horror. I just don't see, because two films that are completely different locations, one set in Hollywood, one set in fairy tale land, how they are similar at all. It does not resonate for me. I guess I love body horror in all aspects, and I think of body horror as a huge spectrum. This film is a dark take on Cinderella, but from the stepsister's point of view, and I do it in a very interesting way. They do not dumb down the characters, and they also do not give them any grace. So she is awkward, but you love her, and you can really see her point of view. And I love when they twist, it's like the villain origin story when they twist that. I did a review on this one as well. A lot of what I watch is so we can talk about it together. So sorry for repeating myself too much is what I'm trying to say, but love this film and really recommend you guys checking it out. It is on VOD this month, and I do think it's heading to Shudder quite soon. Hopefully they'll announce that very soon. I watched Paprika. This is a Japanese anime that was on my list for a long time. Very dark film, but so beautiful and so catchy. It's like a almost Vanilla Sky. Not really similar, but that whole dive into the subconscious and unsure what is real and what isn't, and you just kind of have to go with it. And it's about this device that allows people to enter someone's subconscious or dreams, and that is stolen, and what happens because of that. But because it's an animation, it's very fluid in its design, from reality to surrealism and back and forth, and has some beautiful aspects of Japanese culture in it as well, incorporated into all of the anime, whether that be the surrealism or the realism. So it's a really fun film that's pretty dark. I really enjoyed it. After that, I watched Late Night with the Devil. I did this because I did a Does This Offend You, which is a show I do with my friend Vicky, Nightmare Maven, here on YouTube. I did it on my channel last month, so we'll be doing it on her channel this month. And we did Late Night with the Devil, and I didn't put the other one down. There you go, I didn't put it down, but I did The Exorcist. I watched it the same day, I'm pretty sure. The Exorcist Believer. So really nice to revisit, especially Late Night with the Devil. I feel like I watched it 3 times at the cinema, and then I haven't seen it since. That was fun. Then I watched Exorcist Believer. I should have that in here. That was really interesting to rewatch after, everyone's opinions. And I can definitely see more issues with it than I probably saw in the first place, but I still really enjoy the film, which is hard to say out loud, and especially now repeating it to you. This is a safe space, except if I say frustrating. People don't like that. Next, I watched Devil. I did this really fun thing on my Patreon. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to plug so many things. It just happens when I give you a recap of my month, where I gave out some clues to a movie and did a blind screening, where it was a mystery screening, and you come to the Discord, and I gave some hints on the days leading in, and I gave some really hard to read hints, and I just really wanted to watch this one because I think it's a really fun standalone film. If you don't know, Devil is a movie about people who are locked in the elevator, and one of them, people are assuming outside, this detective is assuming is evil. And it's a very silly kind of film, but twisted and fun, set in one location. It was produced by M. Night, and he was going to do a trilogy of films that he produced that were standalone movies. So this was meant to be part of a trilogy, and I'm really sad we didn't get the rest, but a lot of people did not like this film. I think it's really fun, especially because it has Logan Marshall Green, who I love from Upgrade. Just a fun standalone movie that you can kind of talk through. That's was what I was trying for. Sinners, everyone is loving this film, and I'm so glad I did a review on that, so I won't bore you or waste your time. If you've seen that, thank you so much. Then I finally watched Borderline. This is a film that I wanted to watch 2 months ago. Finally sat down, had the right amount of time for it. I wanted to really like it. What did I end up giving it? Yeah, I think that's really fair. And this is my own expectations. I thought it was going to be, or it really marketed itself as a 90s stalker film where we have this character who is obsessed with Samara Weaving. Yeah, Ray Nicholson. He's in everything now. He's obsessed with Samara Weaving. I do think Ray Nicholson and Samara Weaving do fantastic. It's a fantastic performance, but I thought it was going to be kind of like a one-track film where he breaks in and, you know, whatever happens in the house, but it's very much all over the place and separated across time. It's a fun film, and the dialogue was kind of goofy, but it didn't really suck me in. And I think that it's more fun than it is thrilling, and I was hoping for a thrilling kind of stalker film, but even that, I love a 90s stalker comedy. It just didn't deliver much for me. I just don't think that this is my kind of film, but I do think it's worth a watch, and I do think a lot of other people will like it a lot more than me. But it was kind of a little bit all over the place for me. I finally got to see The Woman in the Yard. This was not released here. Once again, another film not released here. Thank you to my VPN. I do understand why people had a hard time with this film. In fact, I believe I'm talking about this on Does This Offend You this month on Vicky's channel. It is a film about a family who find this woman sitting in their yard, but it's more about the fracture within the family and everything that's going on with the mother and how they got themselves into this situation. It's hard to explain in a very short form, but I know a lot of people had issues with this film because it has a very intense scene towards the end of it. And this is something we've spoken about recently in terms of content warnings. I feel like I was expecting it and almost expecting worse because of how much I'd heard people talk about it. But I do think that the depiction is very graphic, but in a completely other way than I was expecting. I haven't looked into interpretations, but the ending is very odd. Very, very odd for everything that was kind of building up. A lot of people say it's like The Babadook, and I wondered, how could this film be like The Babadook? That's not my Babadook. But I understand after watching it why people would compare it. I feel like there was a lot of passion put into it, and the performances are good. Like, I believed all the characters, but it's a little bit messy in terms of what it's actually trying to say at the end of the day, because it leaves too many things left open. And if you're gonna go this hard and have such a intense scene, you better be saying something and, you know, saying it with your chest. And I think that that's where it was a little bit strange for me, but I don't think it was awful. I know a lot of people hated it. After that, I watched The Parenting. This is so fun. Talking about funny, silly movies, this is definitely more my speed, especially because Brian Cox, I love him. Honestly, some of the things that came out of his mouth in this film, out of context, absolutely fucking wild. About a couple that bring their family together, hoping to like merge families, but they all have their little secrets. And then also, it just so happens that the house that they're all staying in, this Airbnb that they've rented, is haunted. And it's a haunted story that's kind of funny, very touching, and yeah, just goofy fun. It was just goofy fun, silly, in the right way. There's a lot going on, but the cast is fantastic. The cast is absolutely amazing. So it was really fun, especially watching Brian Cox in this. I'm always curious to know if some, you know, serious actors love horror, and there's no way you could sign on for this film unless you were really into it, and it's worth watching for him alone. After that, I watched Novocaine. So happy to finally see it. And it was so different to what I thought, which I loved because I'd seen the trailer so much. I thought that everything was going to be in that. But I loved some of the twists in there I didn't see coming, and it's a really interesting story. Jack Quaid in this, he plays a guy who, because he doesn't feel any pain, he has to be very careful of his surroundings, and then he's put into this situation where he kind of has to break free of everything that he has done to keep himself safe. And it's a very cute story that I didn't really expect to end up being a lot about friendship as well. And yeah, I just think it's really fun. I thought it was a really cute movie. It was actually quite dark though at the start, just a warning there, very dark. I watched The Assessment, which is one of the films I was talking about in my What's Coming to VOD that I was really excited for. This one has Elizabeth Olsen and Himesh Patel. It's a drama thriller about a couple in this dystopian future where they have to have an assessment to see if they can have a child. There's a lot of twists and turns in this. Everyone told me to go in blind, but honestly, there are so many twists and turns in it that I didn't think that you could really easily spoil it. In saying that, I didn't watch the trailer in full. It is a very uncomfortable watch, very uncomfortable and interesting and dark. If you're into like Black Mirror-esque stuff, this one is for you for sure. Warfare. We have to talk about this film. This is one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of disturbing stuff. I went to the cinema and watched this after a really bad day. I was like, the best therapy, the cheapest therapy for me is going to the cinema. Wrong film to pick for that. This movie is based on memories. It's based on truth. It's based on a platoon of American Navy SEALs who go into an Iraq home, occupy it, and then wait to carry out their mission. It's all in real time, but it is directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza, who it happened to. I believe Alex Garland was friends with him and wanted to recreate what happened, and did so in a way that it is known to be a very factual representation of like a snapshot of war. And the way that this film is put together is so unnerving, very in the moment, all carried out in real time. And the reason it is factual, before you start typing, the reason it's factual is because it is not dumbing down any of the language. I don't really know much about the ins and outs of snipers, and it goes into great detail, but doesn't explain it to the viewer. So you're just literally flying the wall. I was worried about the representation in this film. You know, it's just an awful situation. And I can tell you that there is nothing in this film, for me personally, how I read it, there is nothing in this film that glamorizes what is happening. It is stone cold to the bone, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And it's not some macho material, which is what I was concerned, especially with the opening. I'm sure you've seen the scene which they put in the trailer of them like singing. That is not what the film is like at all. You see a lot of grown men just fall apart mentally and everything else. Absolutely insane. One of the most insane pieces of cinema I've seen. And yeah, I was very worried when I realized it was depicting real life. I didn't realize that going in, which was really dumb of me. I think I was just working on a lot of videos that week and I just went, I want to see this new Alex Garland film. I'm gonna be real, I thought it was a spin-off of Civil War. Totally different. And I can see why he did this, because what he did in Civil War was such a fantastic, action-packed film. I started crying at the end of that film. It was so intense. And this is just a more concentrated aspect of that. He does action so well, so well. My hands were in my hair the entire film, and I got a big glass of wine to watch with the film, and I can tell you there is not enough wine on the planet that could have made me oblivious to anything that was happening. Like, I felt stone cold sober. That was one of the most intense cinema experiences I've ever had. I think that film is fantastically made. The soundscape of it is insane. The sound was rattling my bones. Anyway, let's move on. I watched The Man Who Sleeps with a couple of friends. This is a very French film that is all narration. And I actually watched the American dubbed version, which is dubbed or really performed by Shelley Duvall, based on a book. So it's basically the book, but condensed. It's the story of a man in a room with socks in a... I'll stop. It's a man in a room and how he gets disconnected from society. But it's about his isolation. It's very repetitive. It's very French, but beautiful scenery, and you really get lost watching it. It really transports you to another earth. To another Earth. Gosh, I wish. To another world. Who am I, Katy Perry? After that, I watched Final Destination. I'm, of course, watching all of the films before the new one comes out, and I really enjoyed rewatching this one, especially with Tony Todd. It's just such a blessing to go back and be able to watch these ones. They're so fun and not so serious. I have a lot to say about them, and I will be making a video, but that was really fun to rewatch that. I watched Until Dawn. You guys know I did a review on that, so I'll save you. A lot of people were upset with me saying I didn't like the game. I do like horror games, guys. I like my stories in movies. I like my cutscenes in movies, but there's a lot of other really fun horror games out there. Anyway, you can check out our video if you want more on that. I finally watched Slaughterhouse. I did not rate this one, not because I reviewed it, but because I just didn't know what to rate it, because it's such a silly film, but in a fun way. It's about a sloth that is taken by almost like an exotic animal. I guess that's what he was, like an exotic animal keeper. And then a girl in a sorority house ends up getting him to try and get famous on social media. And then the sloth ends up just slowly, really not as slowly as he should, or she should, getting them. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. There are so many plot holes, but that's why it's so fun. It was such a silly movie, and I watched it with a group of friends, so it was so fun to talk about and to kind of laugh through. And there's just a lot of weirdo action in it, but it's actually quite well made. The sloth is a puppet, so it's really fun. If you like watching, B movies, C movies, this is definitely one to add to your list. I watched The Shrouds. Thank you to people who corrected me nicely when I kept saying the Shroods. I speak differently, and I have never claimed to be articulate. I have an accent, I have dyslexia, and I'm a human being, okay? I'm out here doing it by myself. But I finally saw this film, the new David Cronenberg. I did a review on it. I did not love it, unfortunately. There was a lot of fun ideas in it, but I don't think it came together completely for a film. We're going to talk about Black Mirror in a second, by the way, as well. So people were saying it's very similar to Black Mirror, and I did see that. But I feel myself every time something has an interesting kind of dystopian thought or a connection to social media or media and the way it's represented in the future, saying Black Mirror all the time. And I think that kind of makes sense for Black Mirror. Anyway. After that, I watched The Surfer, which I did a review on. Beautiful Australian-Irish co-production with Nicolas Cage being surrounded by Australians who are bullying him. So you guys can go check that out if you'd like to see more. And then I watched The Wedding Banquet. My friend Lucy, hey Lucy, if you're watching, she invited me to go see this with her. So the movie really is about two couples who live on the same property and how their lives change when one is threatened to take over the family business and leave America. And so they come up with this plot to try and stay together. And of course, I don't want to ruin too much, but it is about their different relationships and boundaries and how everything transpires. And then of course about their culture and being accepted within that. It's a gay couple and a lesbian couple and their crossover and how they deal with their heritage and then also, everything they believe in and everything they stand for today. It's a very fun film, but I have to say it was painfully predictable. I predicted every single thing that would happen in this film and I was just waiting for it to play out, but I loved the performances and I loved the characters, so it was fun seeing them go through that. It was also really slow paced, so when you know what's coming next, but it's so slow to get there, I felt like they could have really hidden a lot of what was going to happen quite easily, but they let it really sink in with the audience, which I think might be intentional in some parts. They probably want you to really feel the messaging and get it clear, but waiting too much and giving too much breathing air to every single scene meant you were anticipating what was happening next. So that's how I felt about that. Let's talk about TV shows. Okay, I'm still on my Survivor grind. I think I mentioned it last month, but I've been rewatching, or really starting from the start of the Australian Survivor. I've watched a lot of American Survivor, but not so much Australian. So we're on season 4. So I think we've watched 2 and 3 within the last month, but we're on season 4, I think. I'm trying to go through the whole thing. Next, Black Mirror. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was worried because the first episode everyone was telling me was so sad, and I do find that a lot of the ideas that they're exploring within this season, we have explored them in different episodes of past seasons, but this is just focusing on certain details. So I did like the first one, but could kind of see where it was going because we've been there before in a different episode. And I felt like there was a little kind of touches of that. I really liked, let me pull up the episodes. I really liked the hotel one episode 3. That was my favorite. But I also really liked the episode 2 where she has a run-in with the former schoolmate. I liked that episode because it finished in a really interesting way, and I've seen a lot of breakdowns online about it that made me think about what they were trying to say and how it was kind of a play on you watching it yourself and how you interpreted what happened. So I thought that was really interesting. Common People, I think, is the one that everyone loves, but I really liked the hotel. And then the USS Callister into Infinity. You don't have to rewatch the first one. You probably do have to see the first episode of that, but you don't have to rewatch it because they do a little recap at the start. And I didn't think I'd get that into it, but I really liked that one too. I thought that was really fun. And I'm kind of scared they're going to do a third one. And I don't want them to, because it's a lot to take in. And I felt like my brain was broken in a good way after that. But that goes for an hour and a half. So that's just a movie. They could have just released that as a movie, and I think it's fantastic. It would have been a fantastic movie to see in the cinemas. Of course, the other thing I'm watching is You. I talked about this a little bit on Instagram. I was really looking forward to it ending with a big bang, and I feel like that was unjustified probably because it has been a very cheesy, trashy show. That's the whole point of it, basically, because how else could you watch it? It's really dark. And yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. Something more clever for the final season, but I am 2 episodes from the end now. It does change as you go on, but I think it's just very similar to a lot of the other seasons and doesn't deliver anything more. And I was hoping for an epic finale. Although I do love Madeline Brewer, who's in it. I absolutely adore her, so it's been really fun to watch her. And of course, I love Pan Badley. I love him. So I don't know. It's like a bittersweet ending, I think. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you about was I watched the doco series, The Dark Side of Influencers. It's a Netflix doco series, 3 episodes, I believe. And this one is different because you know when you start a documentary series and they claim it's going to be the darkest thing, and you know, they do little snippets and kind of like a montage of what's going to happen to really get you glued. This one doesn't do it in the same way. Every episode gets so deep into this hole of what actually happened in this story. So the story does follow minors who are influencers and how they've been produced into that role by their parents. And it focuses on this group that I'd never heard of before, but obviously were huge. That happens a lot on YouTube. There's people who have millions and millions of subscribers, but you never hear about them because there are so many YouTubers. And this is a very unfortunate and very dark tale of kids' rights, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry. But from an influencer perspective or even a YouTuber perspective, there are no rules and laws around that to protect the children. This goes episode by episode really down this rabbit hole about these specific kids and what happened to them. And I honestly thought, okay, it's going to be, you know, about their rules and them working late and all that kind of stuff. And it just gets darker and darker and darker. And they really hold off in showing you all of the information that is going to transpire throughout it until the end. So they really hold those reveals, and it really sucked me in. I think I was cleaning my lounge room and I just chucked it on, and then by the end I was just sitting there just staring at the screen. It's a crazy documentary series. If you like dark true crime and learning about that kind of stuff, I think a lot of you guys will find it very interesting. If you watched this far, I really can't thank you enough. It has been a wild 2025. There are so many things I want to say to you guys that I can't, but just hang in there, okay? Just hang in there. I'm thinking of you, and if you have watched this far, put down in the comments, I mean, let me know what you've been watching, but also put down in the comments, no one's talking about the attack of the Furbies. Is that random enough? I need you guys to stress in the comments that no one's talking about the attack of the Furbies. I love this because sometimes people do ask me, what are they talking about? Thank you for being here. Thank you if you wrote that comment. I'm sure you'll put a smile on my face. I do read every comment, so thank you so much. I appreciate you guys more than you could ever know. Thank you for keeping me here and keeping me somewhat sane during 2025, and I'll talk to you all very soon for another video. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.